Alright, and go right. Go ahead and go straight that way. Go straight and over that way. Straight into there. All right, everybody pack in tightly because it's going to be pretty full in here. And then, where'd my assistants go?
I'm pretty sure they reuse the water as like a big sink. I'm pretty sure they fill up the water.
Keon, can you hold this just to one of our assistants? Those two guys get back and then hand it to them? It's already going. Alright, you guys feel free to look around, but if you want to kind of gather around the aquaponics system, I'll talk a little bit about what you're looking at here. So how many of you have ever been to our system before? Nobody. A couple people are volunteers. Great. Well, if you don't know, aquaponics, let's close that door real quick. Aquaponics is incorporating the fish into growing the plants. So this 300-gallon tank has some big old goldfish in it, and their waste is being pumped into the beds. It's feeding the plants clean the water, and then it goes back in there with the fish. So it's reusable. It's all a closed ecosystem, and with aquaponics, it actually uses about 1/10 the water that a traditional garden would to grow the plants, and they can grow 2 to 3 times as fast. So when it comes to efficiency, you can grow much more in a much quicker time frame. And then as you can see, we can grow year-round because we're in a greenhouse. But to explain how our system works, as I mentioned, we got our 300-gallon tank here. And this right here is what we call a swirl filter. So no mechanical parts to it. It's not plugged in at all. Essentially, it's using the swirl of the water to collect all the heavy material, and it sinks to the bottom. So it allows us to naturally filter out a lot of the bad stuff without using any extra mechanical work. You can see that the pipes run all the way around here, and it's going from the swirl filter, going into this bed, going into that bed, and then underneath, which I'll show you guys in a minute, there are sump tanks. And so it catches the water, and then it pumps it back over here, and then the same thing is happening over there from behind the tank. So it goes over there, it drops back underneath, and the water is pumped back into here. So you can see we have a variety of stuff growing. It looks like we added some tomatoes over there, maybe some onions, and then that might be an ivy over there. Some of the things that have grown really well in here, we did a basil plant that just was a tree. It was incredible. It took up about 2/3 of this box by itself, and so we ended up pulling that. You can see we put a little basil plant that's already growing really fast. What's most common to be grown in aquaponic systems, a lot of your leafy greens do amazing. Lettuces, kale, spinach. Tomatoes are actually, a lot of the times people say, are a little bit finicky in aquaponic systems, but we haven't had any problem. You can see those tomato plants are doing great. They've only been in here, I think, probably about a week and a half. And then you can see we don't use soil in an aquaponic system. Feel free to put your hands in here and grab on this stuff. This is called media, and it's basically just like an inert volcanic ash, and it allows it to be porous enough for the water, but tight enough to where it's holding those roots in place. And so the way this works, you can see the water is continuously running into the beds, but the beds are continuously, as the water level rises, these little bell siphons is what they're called. You see it has the little screen on them. It's automatically gauging the water level. So as the water raises and it reaches a certain level, the pressure from that bell siphon as it lifts automatically drains the bed. So again, without any mechanical additions or electrical plugins, the water level is continuously going up and then draining, which allows, you don't want your plants always in the water because that can cause root rot and other things. If the water is continuously moving, it makes it easier to prevent bacteria buildup, algae buildup, and all of those things. So the idea is to always have the water circulating into the beds. And these beds actually fill up slower than your average aquaponics system. They fill up about 10 to 15 minutes and then they drain every 2 to 3 minutes. There are some systems out there that fill up in 2 to 3 minutes and drain in 30 seconds. And it really kind of depends on your system, how you want to go about it. You always want to kind of try and improve it and you got to judge how your plants are reacting. But ours have been doing great at this flow level. So, are there any questions about what you're looking at right now? Yes. Say that again? No, that was actually a vertical garden setup. That was just a separate experiment that they've messed with. That is not hooked up to the aquaponics. And then we'll kind of, if one of you guys wants to open up underneath there, and then I'll open up one over here too, so we can kind of split the group up. And you can see the sump tank underneath. Every one of the beds has a tank underneath where it's drained out, and then it gets pumped back that way. What we actually did is unique with that system. Every aquaponics system has a sump tank, or that tank underneath that collects the water and then moves it back. Typically, you would only do one sump tank though. What you notice, what's different is that we have a sump tank underneath each bed. And what that does is that allows us to prevent any disasters happening. Like if there was a miscommunication over here when you've actually had the electricity go out in here several times, and so our pump's gone dry. What this allows is if one side doesn't shut off, it doesn't overflow the whole system, or the whole system doesn't dry out and burn out the motor. If one side stops, basically they'll all kind of bounce each other out and neutralize. And then I'll go ahead and open this. If you guys want to kind of circle it around here, give you a chance to check out how that works. I'll get out of your way. And then kids, if you saw, I mentioned that there's giant goldfish in there, but you'll actually see, if you guys have seen a suckerfish that are in your tanks at home, there's a big one in there, and he's really hard to find. He's really dark, and he likes to hang out at the bottom. You found him? Some of the things that we're wanting to add to the system is some automated features. We'd like for you guys to be able to log in to Rebirth or Norman High's website and be able to see a live stream of what's going on in here. So that's something we're hoping to add soon, and you'll maybe even be able to see the different water levels and chemical balances. That way we can really educate people on how aquaponics works remotely. And for those of you who don't know kind of how this came about, back in 2014, back up a little bit further, summer 2014, Rebirth partnered with Norman High to revive their outdoor garden. While we were doing that, we were talking about what big ideas we could do for gardening here, because Adam Live 6 and the AP Environmental Science class, they're all very passionate about the idea of raising the bar. And Aquaponics came up and the fact that they had this state-of-the-art greenhouse over here. So we did a Kickstarter. Does everybody know what Kickstarter is?
Yes.
To raise $10,000 in December of 2014. And it was a roller coaster. We had about a day and a half left, and we were only halfway to our goal. And we had another $6,000 donated within about 6 hours period, and we reached our goal on New Year's Eve. So it was a very close call on whether this was going to happen at all, but we raised the money, and then last January we started building it, and it took about 4 months, and it's officially been growing for almost a year now. And it is officially serving in the cafeteria. For those of you who don't know, Rebirth is an organization here in town, and what we're most commonly known for is our goal to set up a garden at every school in Norman that will contribute to the cafeteria supply. So we're not just patting ourselves on the back because, you know, we can check off a garden at that school that gets overgrown in the summer and then never touched again. The idea is really to ingrain these the gardens into the school's curriculum and the culture of what the school's doing. So if we can get it into the cafeteria, there's really 2 ways that we're doing that. Right now, we're donating it to Sodexo, but since Sodexo supplies the food for all the schools in Norman, the goal is they've actually talked to us about if we can secure the vendor permit to sell food, they will buy the food from each school so the schools can continuously fundraise on an annual basis while serving the food in their own cafeteria. So that's a win-win situation in a lot of ways when you think about the Oklahoma budget crisis going on and all kinds of classes getting cut. That is not an issue with this because there's no money being spent on it. If anything, we're constantly bringing in new resources for the curriculum. In fact, between the aquaponics system and the outdoor garden, Norman High's brought in about $8,000 in the last year and a half just to add to the resources. Okay, so I can ramble all day long. I really want to get some questions from you guys and see what you guys are wondering about the system. Yeah.
How much energy does this aquaponics system use?
Good question.
To the regular garden?
So the only thing plugged in on this system is that little pump back there. Instead, you can see we've got really clever. All the water is moving to the beds and then into the sump tanks using gravity. No motors or anything. Once it gets back to that main sump tank, the only pump is pumping it back into the tank above. So essentially all you're doing is using one average outlet with one plug-in. So compared to plugging in a lamp is essentially the type of electricity we're using to run the system. Now compared to your outdoor garden, you're not necessarily plugging anything in, so it's a little bit more, but it's not a lot. Good question though. Yeah.
You want me to talk about the garden tower thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have like a garden tower and it has like a bunch of different spots where you can just plant all kinds of things in it. And it saves like a lot of room so you don't have to use, like so much room and it's all standing. And it goes pretty tall, so it might be a little bit pricey, but if you could get one of those, that can help you save a lot of space trying to grow stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called a garden tower online, and it was actually something that company was doing a Kickstarter at the same time we were, and they had reached out to us saying, oh, this is really cool, we love what you're doing, and we contacted them about getting a couple of their garden towers out here. I think online they run between $300 or $400, but you can grow up to 70 plants in that small 3-foot square area. So, and actually, we have a lot of plants growing on it, but if one of you want to walk over there and pull off that lid in the middle, there's actually a built-in compost in the middle of it. So you take your food scraps and just throw it, you just pull that lid off, and you just throw your compost scraps in the middle of it, and it breaks down. You can put worms in there, and you can see those plants do great. And we've got one of those here in Aquaponics, and we actually have one at the outdoor garden, you'll see, and then there's two more actually at Rebirth Community Center. But it's over there, but it's not actually hooked up to the aquaponics system. It's just kind of resting, you can see on top of it. Any other questions about what we're looking at? Yeah. Yeah, it's mostly the AP Environmental Science class. Yeah, we have several of them in here. Mr. Lipstick's class. We also have the Ag Science department that's based in this building. So Ms. Tague and her class help occasionally as well. And then Rebirth offers class credit internships at OU. So we have a lot of college students that come in and they'll help throughout the semester with it as well. Yeah.
Do all of these things grow year-round?
Yeah, we grow stuff in here year-round. In fact, with our outdoor gardens, we try to do the same thing as well. A lot of schools and people aren't aware, especially in Oklahoma, you can grow things 12 months out of the year. You just got to create the right environment. So it can be as simple as putting a hoop house on your outdoor garden, and you can grow all throughout the winter. In fact, while we were building this system, the old outdoor garden used to be where that construction is all at, and we had to frantically move it before they destroyed it. But while it was out there and we were building this, we put a hoop house on it and just left it. And November, December, January, February, we came back, pulled the hoop house off, and it was overflowing with food. Kale, lettuce, tomatoes, spinach, everything. And we had not touched it. Yeah. Yeah, just with the plastic, and the hoop house is still over there, it's just not covered, so you'll be able to see that. But something that simple, we didn't water for 3.5 months. It just protected it enough from the cold and the wind that it took care of itself. And so it's kind of amazing, especially with a state like Oklahoma, how much you can get out of the growing season if you just create the right environment. It's not a lot of hard work on your side. Any other questions about the system, the filtration, any stuff like that? Sure? All right, well, you guys want, I think we have a couple more minutes, but you can look around for a few minutes, and then we'll go ahead and we'll walk back over towards the outdoor garden for the last 15 minutes.
There's a lot more stuff over there if you want to go.
Yeah, you can see there's all kinds of stuff growing over here, so feel free to look at it.
Your experiment over here, your hanging garden.
I actually wasn't a part of that. That was the ag science class in here. But the idea is simply they were using hydroponics.
Hydroponics, and
Yeah.
they're going to put their plants in there.
Yep, they put their plants in here, and then it just gets pumped up and trickles back down. I think
Where's the pump?
it plugs into an actual hose. Yeah, they would actually hook it up to this, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see that hose right there gets hooked in somewhere down to this pressure. One thing I didn't mention, if you guys see these plaques over here, you can see some of the volunteers and all the people who helped build the system. And then on the left, we have a plaque in honor of Greg Hildebrand, which is one of the science teachers that passed away last year. And he was an avid fisherman and very passionate about sciences and teaching the students about this. So we wanted to dedicate the tank in his honor. Looks like there's the other group.
It says you're only 20%.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's actually go out this door so we don't have to disturb the other group coming in. That's a lot. We'll go out this door.
This is probably a cactus.
You got this one gathered.
Those over there don't. This is not what they are. This is what they use for sunburns.
I'm not sure the ag science part.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how old it was.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's gorgeous.
I'm not sure what that means.
He's in this though. He's in this.
You guys want to kind of start leading them back that way? Okay. No one's falling. Again, you gotta be assertive. You gotta tell them.
Hey everybody, we're gonna start heading out to the outdoor garden now. Thank you.
Just keep this going. Or?
I would, yeah, keep it going, I guess. I think he's gonna use it until the battery runs out.
What was that, 20%? So.
Yeah. Another 15 minutes should be enough.
So,
Good.
where did we leave them?
A little preoccupied.
I hope you get more than like 3 minutes between classes here.
Yeah, they've increased it a significant amount since the construction started.
Really hard to walk around quickly.
Yep.
So are you two the same grade?
Well, I'm a senior.
Senior? Sophomore? Nice.
During advisory, very beginning of the year, they had this huge explanation about it, that it was going to be a freshman center, an extension to the lunchrooms, lots of other things.
Freshman Academy.
Yeah, freshman academy, part of the new library system,
Yeah. What's the freshman academy?
all kinds of
Area
stuff that I just don't
specifically for
remember.
freshmen.
Are freshmen here now or not?
Yes.
They are here? They're just not separated?
Yeah, the college center you guys are getting is pretty state of the art.
Hi.
Thanks.
This is a little adventure to get here.
Yep.
From one garden to the other.
Oh yeah.
So are the train whistles like your bells or what?
Right?
I've been
That's
hearing
our
them all
one.
morning.
That's our 1 minute bell.
Okay. I wondered.
I literally thought there was a train nearby.
If there was, it wouldn't have surprised me.
I just hope you guys don't get in the habit of ignoring train whistles and then
Yeah.
go on a track and it's like, oh, it's just another bell.
No, we recognize that that's not a real train whistle. If we didn't, we would be in big trouble.
So when's your last day of school here?
Next week, actually.
No.
That's a bad thing?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean your last day because you're a senior?
Yes. Graduation is the 27th, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And then where are you going?
OU.
All right, I'll forgive you.
You're not going far at all. That's awesome. Do you have any idea of what you want to major in?
Chemistry or biochemistry is what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to get into med school, so.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Microbiology is awesome.
Might give that a look too.
I can
Love
see you doing that.
microbiology.
What are you planning to do?
Like planning for medical school? I haven't really figured that out. And we can walk forwards. For the most part. Yep. Well, must say, this is good for backwards marching. You can see the potatoes we have there. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be here or not.
Doesn't look normal.
I think you were trying to hold up some of those tomatoes you planted.
Oh yeah, that would make
Doing a
sense.
good job of it.
The Brussels sprout has exploded.
Yeah. Seriously.
Okay, so this is our outdoor garden. As you can see, we got all kinds of stuff growing right now. We just put in a bunch of peppers this past week. Our chard's doing great. Cabbage, carrots. As I mentioned, this garden was moved. It was on the other side where the construction was, and on a Friday they called us and said, Monday we're destroying everything over there, so you better move it. So we got up there and moved it as quick as we could. But it's doing good over here. See, we built a compost bin over here, 3-stage composter. So all the food scraps go onto the first side, and then as they need to turn it, and it kind of gets more mature, it goes to the next side. And this one's being used for a couple more months, since we don't have necessarily most developers filled yet. And then we actually, since you guys just got a breakdown of compost tea, I don't have to explain how worms are awesome for the garden. We just got a grant to build a compost tea brewer out here. So we're going to be building a shelter for it, and then we're going to be putting a compost tea brewer that allows them to produce 55 gallons to 200 gallons of compost tea in a brewing system. So that would be pretty awesome.
I want to pick potatoes.
Want to pick the potato? Actually, I think they freshly just planted those potatoes, so they're trying to get them to sprout and root.
Look at that. They look ready.
And you can see this is the hoop house I was talking about. It's very simple. We basically took rebar and shoved it into the ground to reinforce it, and then just bent the PVC pipe over them. And then this plastic's just your basic garden plastic that you can find at Home Depot or Lowe's. There's a variety of different types. There's some are better than others, so you might want to do a little bit of research. But that's it. That's what we did. We covered it with that and left it there for 3 or 4 months and came back to a ton of food. So you can definitely grow food in the winter in Oklahoma. Do not let anybody convince you otherwise. You just got to kind of look for your extra step or two. Any questions about the outdoor garden or the composting or anything like that? Yeah.
Which ones are the ones that are fully grown and which ones aren't?
All of these are pretty much ready. We've been picking off a little bit here and there. If you guys want to pick a chard leaf and try it, feel free. There's plenty on there. All of these pepper plants are getting there. You can see as they're starting to flowering. And we've got some peppers that are coming in. Those are potatoes. Yeah.
They're just potatoes in the ground. One was just buried.
This cabbage is definitely ready to eat. We got some giant leaves on
I
it.
thought that was the Brussels sprout.
Brussels sprout. That's right. You're right. I keep confusing them with cabbage. And the carrots are not ready.